Hello. It has been a minute since I have been on here speaking to you all, and I appreciate you guys listening today. My beautiful spirits, thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about, are you rejecting God's power? Okay. And before we get started, I just want to say that I really pray that all of you out there are doing well. You're continuing to heal whatever needs to be healed, and you're loving the life that you have every single step of the way. So if you don't, please start to do so, okay? Because life is extremely short, and we don't have as much time as we think we do. So enjoy every moment with everyone you possibly can. All right. Disclaimer. Majority of the music that you may hear in the background may not be mine, and I do not own the rights to that music. However, if I ever do decide to use my own music, I will let you know. And if and where I decide to use my music, you can support me if you like and purchase my music as well. But I'll let you know when I do use my own music. But moving forward, as of right now, the music is not mine and I do not own those rights, okay? I also want to mention that some of the comments or thoughts may not be directly from me. I will do my best to let you know whatever it's from me, or if it's from someone else who gave me permission to speak on those things, I'll let you know that as well, okay? If it's from someone else. So, let's go. Today we're going to speak on, are you rejecting God's power? And I just want to mention 2 Timothy 3rd. Okay, 2 Timothy chapter 3, and it could be the King James Version or the New Living Translation version. They all speak on the same point that is provided in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 3. And it talks about the dangers of the last days. So I'm going to talk about how this section is related to us in some way in today's society. As usual, we're also going to talk about the journey of life, its testimonies, and how sometimes we might unknowingly reject God's power. Okay, so have you ever wondered if you are, or have you ever rejected God's power? I do that. I wonder a lot, right? I wonder all the time, am I rejecting God's power? Is this coming from God? How do I know it's coming from God? And that's when you use your discernment. And so, and I'll talk about discernment on another episode, but today I just want to see what we can talk about for now. So, are you rejecting God's power? If you have, how did you know, and what were the circumstances that led you to do it? How did you try to rectify your actions? Sometimes we have the best intentions. We really, really do. So most people have the best intentions. At least I hope that most people do. I really pray that we all did. But let's be real. We don't, right? So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say most people have the best intentions. We want to do good. We want to see good. We think positively. We try to encourage ourselves and others on a daily basis. And we're all set to make a difference, okay? We have this positive mindset. We're finally thinking clearly. At least you think you are, right? You feel like you're ready to do what you need to do in order to make a positive impact. However, when it comes time to act on what seems to be all the right moves, all the right decisions, the unexpected usually happens. At least for me, the unexpected usually happens. Then we start to feel pulled in another direction, and we can't quite figure out why. We begin to question ourselves, our situation. Why me? Why now? What's going on? Am I not supposed to speak on this? Am I not supposed to act on this? What is truly going on? So for me, there were times when I unknowingly rejected God's power. It was like I was programmed to reject God's power, like automatically reject it, right? And anything else that was good. I began to recognize this later on in life after becoming an adult. Well, I started noticing little by little as I got older, even before I became an adult. But good thing in life is that we never stop learning, right? That's perfect. We never stop learning. So that's a good thing, right? Anyway, I do remember growing up, I questioned things. When I was a child, when I was a teenager, I would ask my parents, I would ask teachers and other adults, why must I do this? Why must I say this, say that, or act a certain way? And I never really got a concrete answer. So I just simply let it go at the time. Now that I'm older, I question almost every single thing, regardless if it angers someone else or not. I'm gonna question it because I want to know the motive, the understanding behind why should I act or speak or do certain things. And I'm not talking about things like, what's to be expected. If you go to someone's home, you don't expect to act a fool in someone's house, and they don't expect you to act a fool in their house, right? So I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about other things like, for an example, if you're watching a TV show, right? And it's supposed to be for children, but yet there's these sexual innuendos in these shows or movies. And so you ask, why do they have that in these shows and these movies? And no one can ever really give you a concrete answer. They kind of just laugh about and blow it off, right? And, they'll make up some excuse that has absolutely nothing to do with why this is in there. So, that's some of the things that I'm talking about. Okay. So I understand now that some people enjoy being in power and being in control way too much, that it goes to their head. Okay. And I believe that's why a lot of people tend to reject God's power. Not all, but most. Okay. And they let this go to their head, and I realized that when I saw the people that I was surrounding myself with, or even the people that I just kind of saw on a daily basis, the things that I saw and heard all played a vital role in allowing the power and control to go to their head. So I want you all to think about a time when you realized you were rejecting God's power. It may not have been subtle, or it may have been subtle. You may not have been aware at that time, but it was there. Looking back, you realize, yeah, I did reject God's power. Why did I do that? So think about that and understand, why did you do that, and what can you do to fix that situation? How can you move forward from that if you haven't already? And then if you have, let me know, how did you move forward from rejecting God's power at that time? And so for me, I feel like we are programmed to reject anything that's good, right? Anything that has to deal with God. Some people learn through the things they hear. Others learn to reject the power of God through the people they surround themselves with. Like I said earlier, the people I surrounded myself with, and the people that I saw. We often do this through the things we see, such as because of movies, television shows, other people of influence, their environment, their lifestyle, what's in our households, as well as in the school systems. Okay, a lot of people don't realize that we tend to reject God's power in the school system as well. It's not just not allowing prayer in the schools, but it's what we're teaching our students, what we're teaching our children. Some of those things that are being taught is rejecting God's power, right? And it's teaching us to rely on a system that is unjust and that is not truly fair. A lot of times we're relying on a system that's not accurate at all for the most part. And how can we fix this? How can we fix a system that we all know have problems, have issues? Everything in this world can be solved if we just simply took the time to solve them, right? So we'll move on from that. But sometimes we begin to lose who we truly are and what our purpose is in life, why we need diversity when it comes to authorities. And oftentimes we allow that feeling of power, money, having a lot of money, how they like to say rich, being rich, we allow that and the control, the greed and anger to determine our future and even determine the future of others. And I think that's really, really dangerous in a way, to be honest. We become very unforgiving, very resentful, and we lack respect for ourselves, for our parents, for our elders. We lack respect for our children, authority figures. We lack respect for God, for Christ Jesus, for the Holy Spirit. And it's really hard to respect others when we don't respect ourselves, right? And then we end up betraying our family. We betray our friends. We betray those who look up to us. All these things and more often contributes to our failure of recognizing the power of God. So let's explore this topic a little bit more through the powerful words written in the Bible speaking about the last days in the book of 2 Timothy 3 verses 1 through 9. And I'm going to go ahead and read each verse, and I'll kind of give a little bit of an example of what that may relate to in today's society. Okay, so in 2 Timothy 3, the dangers of the last days, verse 1 says, "You should know this, Timothy, that in the last days there will be very difficult times." In the last days there will be very difficult times. Okay, so with the outbreak of COVID-19 and other things that happen in the world, but I'm mentioning COVID-19 because in my era, that was one of the most traumatic experiences that our society had to deal with in a very, very long time when it came to an epidemic, right? So for many people during this time, they lost their lives, they lost their jobs, their homes, their mentality was compromised, their mental state of mind was compromised, and their overall well-being took a turn for the worse when you look at the people as a whole. Even before this occurred, how many people had trouble paying for necessities and food, clothing, shelter, needing help with their mental wellness? A lot, right? And then when you added this epidemic in the situation, it was just like, wow. I was seeing people freaking out left and right, and things became abundantly clear how bad the world needed something more than what mankind had to offer. And for me, I believe I dealt with COVID very well in terms of being somewhat prepared for it. And I think the reason why is because I'm not perfect, of course, no one is. But there are times where I have a really, really good relationship with God, right? And I'm being honest. I really wish I had a better relationship with God 24/7. 24/7, 365. I really wish I had a better relationship with God at all times, and not just every now and then, or when I'm feeling okay, And I know that some people have a better relationship with God when they feel bad and they call on Him. But I actually, for me, it's kind of interesting. I have a better relationship with God when I feel good. I call on God every single day. I pray to God every single day, even multiple times a day. But I have a better relationship with God when I'm feeling good. So during this time, before COVID, and I'll speak on this a little bit in another episode, and I'll show you what I'll let you know what I was talking about, because there's more to this story, but I'm going to tell you just a little bit. But before COVID hit, before anybody knew about it, I would say before the average person knew about it, before it was made in whole ordeal, is God was starting to show me things and telling me things back in 2018. He showed me a lot of different things at this time when it came to COVID. God has actually showed me a lot of things long before then. Since I was a child, I've seen things, right? And I've had a relationship with God that many probably would not believe. But anyway, back in 2018, 2019, God showed me so many different things. And one of the things that He showed me was people falling very ill. People falling very ill. And when I would go to the store, I would start putting things in my basket, in my cart. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting masks in my basket? Why am I putting batteries in my basket? Why am I putting... It was several different types of batteries as well, too. Why am I putting gloves in my basket? Why am I buying hand sanitizer the way that I'm buying it? Why am I doing these things? And, someone that I was with at the time when I was doing this shopping, he was like, why do you keep putting all this stuff in your basket? And I said, I don't quite know yet, but something is coming. And God is telling me to prepare. God is telling me to buy these things. And we need to go to the grocery store as well. So I would go to the grocery store. And I did this a little at a time for months, several months, right? So I went to the grocery store. We need to buy water. We need to buy cases of water. We need to buy canned goods. We need to buy lots of paper towel, lots of tissue, lots of cleaning supplies. So I'm like, okay, we need a lot more stuff. So I went to, I'm not promoting this. I don't get paid for any of this. I'm just letting you know where I went. Okay, I went to Sam's Club, right? The warehouse. So you can go to Sam's Club, you can go to Costco's, you can go wherever you guys shop at, Publix, or whatever it's called, wherever you shop, okay, right? So I went to these big warehouses and I started buying these things in bulk, right? And I'm like, okay, we need canned goods, we need this, we need that, we need flashlights, we need batteries, we need food, we need water. And I don't know why I needed so much stuff, but we did. And I started telling And I started telling my parents and my family members and friends and anyone who would listen. I said, you need to buy gloves. You need to buy face masks. You need to buy water. You need to buy canned goods. You need to be prepared. Something massive is about to happen. Something massive is about to happen. And you guys need to be prepared, right? So they were just like, oh girl, you tripping. Oh girl, we don't need that. Oh girl, hand sanitizer. Why would we need hand sanitizer? Lysol. I got Lysol. No, you need a lot of Lysol. You need to cleaning. You need a lot of wipes. You need these things. Prepare. If you don't have baby food and you need baby food, get your baby food. Get these things and get those diapers. And I'm not talking about just 1 or 2 boxes. I'm talking about multiple. So before COVID hit, our dining room was full of things. Completely full of things. And when my parents come over, the look on their face was like, are you serious? What is wrong with you? What are you doing? Why do you need all this stuff? And I said, I'm telling you, God is preparing us. And sure enough, right before COVID hit, I was seeing signs when we were driving around. I was seeing numbers flipping. I was seeing things that were not there to other people, but I saw them myself. I saw 3 or 4 men on horses. And I'll talk about that. I wrote that down, but I'll talk about that. I'll say that for another episode. But they were not nice. They were actually the pharaohs of death. And I will speak on that on another episode, because there's more to that. But I was seeing all these things, and the numbers flipped upside down, and the radio stations would turn and it would mess up. And it was like I was in a movie, like I was in a horror film, right? And so my middle child ended up getting really, really sick. So we took her out of school. And then it was like she just could not get over this illness. She couldn't fight it. And she was real young at the time. I think she was about 6 or 7. And I said, you know what? Let's take her to the hospital. Took her to the hospital. Oh, it's just the flu. And they gave her a prescription, but the nurse, luckily we had a really great nurse, and she says to us, combine these 2 medicines, get this medicine, combine them, and out of no time that she'll be much better. And we said okay. So during this time, my ex, her father, also got sick as well. And so they were both taking these medicines back and forth. And I also want to mention during this that God told me to build my immunity, build my immune system up. And keep your distance and don't shake hands. And so, but anyway, so he got sick, and then they finally got better, right? And then there was a situation at their school, my children's school, and we were just like, you know what? This is not right. Something is going on. The principal, I don't know what happened. I don't know if she had just like a nervous breakdown, but she started snapping on a lot of people. And we were just like, no, this is not okay. So we ended up taking our children out of school and started homeschooling them, right? And thank God we did, because that was in October. And by January, end of January, February, they were start talking about this new illness, and they're calling it COVID-19 and blah, blah, blah. And they're saying that COVID hit in 2020, right? But why is it called COVID-19 when I already knew, I saw this before 2020? So anyway, the world kind of like shut down, right? So we ended up staying in our home, in our apartment at the time, and we had all this stuff. We had all of this stuff, and people where I live, people are not used to the snow, right? Our city is not used to that. So a lot of people lost their electricity, a lot of people lost water, a lot of people lost a lot of things they couldn't do, and a lot of people died because of that as well. And a lot of people were struggling to get water and food, and I was seeing on the news, and you probably saw it on the news too, how everybody was running to the stores and buying out all the food and buying all this stuff. And I was not freaking out at all. I was okay. And I'm not saying that to like throw that in your face, but I was saying it because I was already prepared for that. And I'm going to move on here in a minute, but I also want to mention that you guys need to prepare for something more to come. Okay? I'm going to talk about it on another episode, hopefully real soon, because it's also in line with the new president coming into office, right? So I want to talk about that as well, because something is going to happen, something major. Okay, but we'll speak on that in another episode. But I just wanted to let you know that, living in our last days, that we're going to have some difficult times. And I believe in this society, for me, COVID was one of the major issues that we had faced in the society living in our last days. And now moving on to 2 Timothy 3 verse 2, where it says, "For people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents, and ungrateful. They will consider nothing sacred." They will consider nothing sacred. That part right there, right? I'm going to say this and I'm going to go on, and then I'm going to come back to that. But considering nothing sacred, we don't even consider children sacred anymore. How many times have we heard about innocence, about our young children being sexualized and going through some traumatic experiences? We don't praise God like we should. We don't thank God like we should. Nothing is sacred. Our bodies are not sacred. We used to cover up. People don't even do that anymore. People are all on social media showing you themselves while they're using the bathroom, for crying out loud. The bathroom. Now, if you want to do that on your OnlyFans or whatever other account that people got to pay for to see, that's on you, But don't put that on straight up on social media. I don't want to see it. I just don't. I don't want to see it. There's people out here that don't even want to do the number 2 in front of their spouses, and yet we have a lot of individuals out here posting themselves using the restroom. So yeah, nothing is considered sacred. Our Bibles are, some people are just like tossing the Bible to the side, even burning the Bibles. It's not sacred, right? Now, and we're going to go back to this. It says, people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God. How many times have you heard someone say, "I'm self-made"? And they don't say it in a way that's humble. They say it like they throw it in your face. "I'm self-made. I don't have to rent. I have a house. I bought myself a house. It is paid for." And what's your point? I don't care if your house is paid for or if you're renting your home. You have a home. You have a place to lay your head. Why are you comparing your own home to a rental house, or a shelter? Nobody cares for, I'm going to take that back. I personally do not care if you own your home, if you rent your home, if you live in a shelter, wherever you live, as long as you live in something somewhere. There's so many people out here that are living on the streets. They're living in their vehicles. Okay? They don't have a place to lay their heads. So why are you throwing that up in people's face? I'm self-made. Nobody helped me. Why should I help you? Okay, look at your energy. Recognize your energy. You're coming at me full force. What's the issue here? You said, we hear it all the time, a lot of people have gone through a traumatic experience growing up. Traumatic experience. How they had to hustle and hustle and hustle. Some of them lived on the streets. Some of them were kidnapped. Some of them were not even looked for. Some of them had to turn to other alternative means to survive, right? Because no one helped them. So when you ask the question, nobody helped me, why should I help you? Because that's the very reason why you should help me. Because nobody helped you. We need to stop the cycle. Stop the cycle. Don't be that person who refuses to help simply because no one helped you. If you can help, then help. And if all your help is doing is giving someone advice, that is perfect. We don't need you to give millions and millions of dollars or any amount of money unless you choose to, unless you really want to, out of the kindness of your heart. Okay? But giving someone advice doesn't cost you a thing. It may just spare you a few seconds, a few minutes of your time, an hour of your time, a day or a week, a month of your time. But what is that compared to a lifetime of someone else now being successful and paying it forward because of the time that you took out to give them the advice they needed? People brag about how they did everything on their own. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. I'm a rich beep. I didn't need you. And they go on and on and on and not giving praises to God at all. Not giving praises to God for giving us grace on so many factors. On so many factors. God allows us to wake up every single morning to pursue our purpose, our dreams, our goals, to be with family, to be with friends, to give us an opportunity to meet and learn from others. Learn. Every single day you can learn, right? God gives us that. Okay? God gives us grace. He provides us shelter. He provides us food. He provides us with clothing, finances. Even if you don't have anything in this moment at this time, that's not permanent. That's temporary. That's temporary. He gives us forgiveness. That's a huge thing. We all need that. We all need forgiveness. None of us is perfect. Not one of us is perfect. Not one. I don't care what you do in your line of work, how long you've done it for, how much you know. It's not perfect, and I'm pretty sure you've had to ask God for forgiveness at least once in your life. Okay? He gives us so much, right? God gives us a lot. And even if you don't currently have, if you don't currently have the finances and the mindset where you want to be, or be in a position where you want to be in, relax. Okay, don't dwell too much on that, because you will be in that position and you will have those finances and you will be more than okay when it's God's time. Okay, what's that saying? God is always on time. Those finances that you need will come when God sees fit. The home that you need will come when God sees fit. Maybe the home that you need hasn't even been built yet. Have you thought about that? It hadn't even been built yet. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Okay? Know that His love, God's love, His loyalty, and His support is going to always be there. Always. So don't reject it. Okay. Now moving on to this section where it talks about being disobedient to your parents. Disobedient to their parents and ungrateful. I often hear children, especially adult children, yelling at their parents, calling their parents names like stupid, putting their parents in nursing facilities because they don't want to take care of them or at least visit them. And I'm not saying the ones who can't physically take care of them, but the one who just chooses not to because they feel like they have more important things to do in life, like vacation. And you can't take your ill parent on vacation with you, can you? I mean, if you could afford a nurse, probably. Or your own doctor, yeah, you probably could. Okay. They have become resentful. The child grows up to become resentful and bitter from built up hatred of what their parents has done or didn't do, for that matter. They lash out at their parents for various reasons, even for things their parents had no control over. And again, I'm not talking about parents who abuse their children. That's a whole entirely different situation. There's a different subject we will discuss at another time for abusive parents or abusive children, for that matter. I'm just talking about your parents who did what they could to make sure that you as a child and their children in general were taken care of. Okay, no matter the circumstances, they had to make sure you were good. Yet their children grow up feeling entitled to anything they desire, right? And I believe some of you out there know at least one person who felt that way, who grew up feeling entitled to whatever their parents have. My ex was that way. My ex was one of those people who grew up feeling entitled to whatever their parents had, right? Okay. And then the children, they grow up to be adults, right? And they date or marry someone that doesn't respect their parents. Ooh, that's a big one for me. That is a big one for me. Your partner is trying to fight your parents. How many of you have experienced that? Where your partner, someone you're dating, someone you're with, someone you're married to, is literally trying to physically fight with your parents or start an argument with your parents. Even if they didn't start it, but they're definitely trying to finish it, right? Maybe it's you, maybe you're the person that fights with your in-laws or your partner's parents or their siblings, right? And some of you don't care, and some of you do. Some of you feel sorry about that, and you apologize, and that is great, because that's the first step to healing that relationship. But yeah, your partner's trying to fight your parents. They're cussing at your parents, belittling your parents. And some of you allow it to happen. You really do. Some of you have raised your hands. Your partner has raised their hands and have striked out at your parents. Like you literally, physically fought your parents. And I see this a lot. I see this in everyday life. I've seen it on reality TV shows. Because they put it on display, right, for the world to see. As if it's maybe like a badge of honor for some reason or something. And I think that's very disturbing. There was a show that I love to watch. And this young lady, I'm not sure if they're married yet, but I know that they're engaged at least. But I do believe they're married. But anyway, she got into it with her husband's mother. And of course the husband's mother's not going to back down, right? So she gets into it with her husband's mother, and it turned physical. And from what we could see on the video, the young woman put her hands on the mother first. In my opinion, it really doesn't matter who put their hands on you first. What matters is that you disrespected someone's parent. Okay? But I know a lot of you don't agree with that. So for context, that woman, the young lady, actually put her hands on her husband's mother first, okay? And it turned real physical real quickly. And I just thought, okay, no, this man needs to put his foot down. And instead of him coming to his mother's defense and saying, to his wife that what you did was not right, instead he said, well, you put your hands on her first. And the mother said, no, I didn't. And he's like, yes, you did. So they're arguing back and forth at this point now. The mother and the son are arguing back and forth that who put their hands on who first. Totally threw out the fact that your mother was disrespected. Period. And I know that the mother does have a mouth on her, and she was not respecting the daughter-in-law as well as she should have, in my opinion. However, it should have never gotten violent. It should have never gotten physical. And when it did, as the son in the middle, he should have put his foot down and said, no, this is not what God wants. This is not what I want. This is not how we treat each other in this family and in the world. And he failed to do that. So that's another example of how we are disobedient to our parents. And many people have become so full of bitterness. They easily find ways to justify such behavior, and like I said with that story, they were literally trying to justify the fact that his wife put her hands on his mom. And to me, there's no justification in that. You shouldn't have done it. You just really shouldn't. And I know it's easier said than done, because sometimes you do have people that kind of really push you to that point, like really push you to the point of wanting to strike out. But you should not allow that point to break where you actually do strike out. And I find that it is best in every situation when you feel like you're getting to that point to get up and walk away. Just simply walk away. You don't even have to say anything. If you choose to say something, just say, you know what? No disrespect, but I cannot be in this situation right now. I need to walk away. And you just simply walk away. And walking away is a lot more powerful and a lot more useful than being physical. Okay? It's a lot more power, a lot more useful to just walk away. Alright, and again, I know that's easier said than done, but try your best, okay? So, I just wonder, sometimes I wonder what they were thinking when they become so physical or have such bitterness, but I already know the answer to that because, like I said, I've gotten to that point where I just want to, but I take it in and I walk away and then I release it later in a more positive way. And that's what we should all do. Because hitting your parents is like hitting God, to be honest. When you disrespect your parents, when you disrespect anyone, you're disrespecting God. But when you become physical with someone, especially your parents, it's not self-defense. When you become physical and it's not self-defense, I'm throwing that in there, it's like hitting God. And so you got to be very mindful of that, okay? Now, again, in 2 Timothy 3, verse 3, it says, they will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. So many people have a misguided passion that has led them to become selfish, envious, indulging in whatever they want, however they want, without any regard for others. Hurt people hurt people. We hear this all the time. This is prevalent in the high rising cases of STIs and STDs, domestic violence, child abuse, child pornography, elderly abuse, SA assault, SA amongst other things, right? Being assaulted physically, sexually, it's rising, right? Because hurt people. They're unloving, they're unforgiving, they slander others, they have no control. Okay? And we see this slanderous behavior amongst each other, especially in our families, our environment, and political parties even. The political parties. Like, can't we just have a wonderful debate without all the slanderous behavior and the insults? No. Why not? Why can't we? Why can't we just have a great debate and you answer the question without answering the question? Why can't you answer the question without deflecting? What is wrong with that, right? So somehow we expect our children to not become bullies or be bullied. Ooh, that's a good point right there, because here we are as adults, as authority figures, as parents, as teachers, as mentors, as just human beings, telling our children, telling the children of tomorrow, of the future, not to be slanderous, not to behave a certain way, not to act a certain way, not to speak such foul language. Yet, look at what they see on television, on social media, again, our political parties. How can we teach them not to behave this way? And that's all they see and hear. So we have to have a strong relationship with God and use God's word to help promote positivity in our society and in our children, right? What happened to those ethics and morals and values, right? So, and when we look at that, when we look at our society as a whole, what role models do our children truly have? What role models as adults do we have? It's very limited nowadays, right? And people are often portraying their racism, like they're just all over the place. They're just out and about with it, right? They have this pure hatred on social media, and it's not just for others of a race, but it be hatred against women or against men, against people who make more money, people who make less money, people who have long hair, people who have short hair, people who have no hair. It's like, why are these things even relevant? Why are you putting so much energy into these things when there's so much we need to do to prepare for our future and for our children's future? These little things here that we argue about, that we talk about, that we just kind of dismiss and dismantle others over, are very, very irrelevant. And I wish we as a society would realize that, right? So, and they do this, they portray this hatred without second thought, and many are not held accountable whatsoever. There's no justice in a lot of cases. And some people just do not call them out on it, and when they do call them out on it, they try to justify it, right? And sometimes it's just not, there's no justifying these things. So instead, they are often praised by like-minded individuals. How many times have you seen someone do something wrong or say something wrong, and you expect them to get reprimanded, right? But no, instead they're praised by it, and it's like, wow, that's kind of weird. Their hatred is love, and their love creates chaos. You understand that? Their hatred is love, and their love creates chaos. We struggle with recognizing what is good and righteous versus what is bad and ungodly. Our society is used to such devious behavior that when people who are truly kind-hearted, they say or do something good, they're often chastised or accused of being fake with ill intentions. Wow, accused of being fake. I had a small situation a while back, and it was the first thing that popped in my head, but where I was accused of being fake, right? I was on social media, and there's this beautiful young actress that I follow on social media, and she's gotten a lot of backlash, and she also gets a lot of support, but usually she gets a lot of backlash because of whatever reason. I'm not quite sure. I think it has something to do with how she looks. To me, I think she's absolutely gorgeous, but to other people, they are very insulting. And let me pull up her name real quick so you know who I am speaking of. Okay, and she actually played in a lot of things, but one of the things she played in most recently was in Wakanda Forever, Black Panther's Wakanda Forever. And this lady, she's actually very talented too, because she has some shows on Netflix that did very well, and she's I believe she's from the UK. I believe she is British, but let me make sure. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. Hopefully I can find her. And actually, I don't want to take up too much time on this, but I will find her, and I will definitely let you know what her name is. I'll get back to it. But anyway, I had put a comment on her page, and I said, "You're very beautiful. You have a wonderful confidence. You have amazing confidence. And how did you become so confident? When the world is so negative, how did you become so confident, right?" And someone put on there, "Oh, she's trying to call you ugly." And I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I am not trying to call her ugly whatsoever. And I was very, very upset that someone would say those things, right? Because like I said, I genuinely thought this woman was extremely beautiful, and her confidence level was like out the door. It was out the door for me. So when they said that, I was really upset. And then she responded back to them and just said, "I know." And I'm like, no, you don't know, because that's not what I'm talking about. That is so not what I mean. So I just thought that was really messed up, how I had these really great intentions, and how someone could just come and say, "Oh no, she's being fake. She means this about you." No, I don't. I mean what I said, and I said what I mean. If I thought she was not attractive, I wouldn't have commented, and I wouldn't have said you are attractive. I wouldn't have, because that's just not what I do and how I operate. So I was very upset when that happened. So moving on though, and I'll let you know later on what her name was. But moving on, we're going to go to verse 4, where it says, they will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. I'm going to read that verse again. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. There are several stories of friends leaving their friends alone with a group of people who then attack the friend who was left alone. We hear that a lot. We hear that all the time. And these friends give each other their word not to leave each other alone. But when they attend a party or a gathering, or has the opportunity to spend some time with someone they like, some alone time with someone they like, one of the friends leaves the room, right? Allowing the other friend to be left alone with strangers or even with people you may know. And when this happens, they are often attacked. They're attacked, and this scars their friendship, this scars their hearts, even their bodies, and most importantly, it scars their mindset for the rest of their life. And this leads them to trauma and trust issues, making it difficult for them to make or sustain friendships and relationships. The trust is now gone and lost, and now multiple people have to suffer the consequences because of this, right? And so when you betray a friend, you're not just damaging that friendship between you two. You're not just damaging you and that friend's friendship. You're also damaging friendships between them and other people they know in their current life, and other people they're going to get to know in the future. It makes it harder for them to open up and to trust anyone, to have a conversation with someone, and to make sure that they don't doubt their actions. It makes it really hard. Okay, and if word gets around on what type of friend you are for doing that, no one's going to want to be your friend either. It's going to be very hard for you as well to make friendships, right? So we got to be careful what we do. And then it says, be puffed up with pride. How many of you have heard someone say, I run this, I control this, this is mine, this is my house, this is my car, this is my whatever, right? I'm rich, I run this town, I run this city, I run this state, I run this country. When all you are really doing is running your mouth and your blessings away. That's really what you're doing. You're all puffed up in the chest, and you have absolutely no reason to be. Because all of what you have is all materials, and all your materials can be taken away from you in a split second. Your world could be turned right upside down. Okay, so be humble, kind of humble yourself, and stop running your mouth and stop running your blessings away. Okay, do you think God wants to bless those who are prideful? Do you think God is only going to say, okay, I'm going to bless this person here who runs this town, who runs this city. I'm not going to bless those who don't. No. God didn't put you in that situation you're in so that you can be boastful about your finances or your cars or your businesses or your lifestyle. Right? He put you in the place that you're in now so that you can spread the love and the word of God by helping others get out of the places they are currently in. Okay? To help them improve their mindset. In return, everyone is able to pay it forward. How many times can you proudly say, Well, I shouldn't say proudly, but how many times can you say, hey, I paid it forward, and I'm going to continue to do so because that's what God needs me to do, and that's ultimately what I want to do. Everyone would spread love and peace and the ability of what they have learned over the years and the process of their situation. The progress of their situation. When you are in a place to help others, you help them and they're going to help others as well, hopefully. Right? Because you're showing them God's love. When you give out of the kindness of your heart and when you show them things and help them, hopefully in return they'll do the same for the next person, and this will make for a better society. And we're also here to not only spread the word of the gospel, but also to educate others on the word of the gospel. So you don't want to just spread the word, because there's a difference between just spreading it, and there's also a difference in educating people on the word of the gospel. And we can do this by not only speaking on it, but also by living in it. If more people would do this, more people would be more successful in multiple ways, in their finances, in their mental state of mind, in their physical state, in their relationship with God, in their relationship with their children, in their relationship with their spouses and their family members. Even if you're divorced, if you did what you're supposed to do and spread love, and someone spreads that love to you, you can have a wonderful, peaceful relationship with your ex-spouse, So if more people did that, we would be a lot more successful as a society. But unfortunately, we have way too many people that are all about themselves. It's all about me, 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 instead of about God, God, God. We have become a very selfish, impatient, disrespectful, belittling, and in a lot of ways untrustworthy society. And that's super, super sad to say, but it's also super sad to see. Okay, think about that. So moving on to verse 5, it says, they will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that. So I remember going on social media and seeing this particular person have such trauma in her life. She said she was desperate and needed help. She begged for others to help her, pray for her, give her our thoughts and advice on what she needed to do about their situation. I was one of the few people who responded back to her post. Most of the others recognized her situation and stated how they too know how it feels to be in that situation, but didn't really give her any other advice, right? So I wrote her back a step-by-step information, step-by-step guide, and some resources and information on what it is that she should do. And one of the things that I mentioned was to take it to God, but not just take it to God. I informed her step-by-step instructions on what she should do, how she should do it, and how she can receive the answers she is seeking. I also let her know that about a situation I had, a very similar situation of mine. And when I did what I was advising her to do, my situation changed for the better, right? I'm just one person. I get it. I'm just one person. It may not be for everyone, but from the people who actually took that advice, their situation changed for the better as well. And I told her to go ahead and give it a try, follow those steps and see what happens. But this woman, she actually replied back and said, that's not what I want to hear. I don't want to hear anything about God. I just want someone to help me. And I replied back asking, what exactly are you asking help for? Her response, I just wanted someone to give me some money. Wow. She said, I just want someone to give me some money. I don't want to hear anything about God. So I told her again, I said, well, that's, you ask for advice and all this other stuff in your situation, then you give it to you and you don't want it. And so I said, well, good luck with that. And this woman asked for our help, and she asked if we could pray for her. And when I gave her what she initially asked for, it was not enough, because it was not truly what she wanted. She just wanted to have money. She wanted somebody to ultimately just take care of her. She did not want us to truly pray for her or her situation, right? Or her family and friends. She just wanted that money. She used her situation, and honestly, it was a very common, easy day issue that she was going through. Because almost everyone I know, including myself, had experienced that situation. So it was a very simple fix. But she refused to fix it herself, and she refused to take it to God. She didn't want to hear anything about God, because she just wanted the money. And it's sad how she used her situation and threw in the words, pray for me, pray for my family, in hopes that people will truly just give her the money that she was looking for, right? So I guess she thought that by throwing in those words, pray for me, would allow us to see her as possibly a religious person, and in turn we would want to not only open our hearts but open our wallets as well to help her, right? And I dislike that so much, because there are people that truly do need help, especially financial help, and they're asking for prayers, they're asking for anything, even if you can donate $1, and people don't do it. People don't do it anymore, because you have other individuals like this who just want you to give them money, and so people are always skeptical about it, and that really, really sucks. People often use their religion in order for us to open our wallets, and they don't really mean what they say. They just want to give, they just want you to give them everything in life, right? So I gave this woman the answer that she needed, including where to find the help of being able to get her light bill paid. But instead, she turned it down, because it's not what she wanted. It was what she needed to hear, but it wasn't what she wanted to hear. So a lot of times we reject what we need to hear, right? Oh, I don't want to hear that. Oh, it's like, fingernails on the chalkboard. No, don't tell me that. I just want it. Just give me the money. No, we can't do that. Some of us could, but we don't, because of individuals like her. I do in certain situations. I definitely do. But she rejected the experience that I had gone through, and when I prayed about it and did the steps I was supposed to do according to the answers I received from God, that woman is probably still out there today, struggling, simply because she's rejecting to give what she needs to give to God, right? She's rejecting to turn to God. She's rejecting to do the steps that I told her to do, because God told me to do those steps, and I was so much better out of that situation when I did it. And she didn't want to do it. And I believe, if she would have done what she was supposed to do, if she would have just took it to God, He would have definitely given her the strength, the knowledge, and the power to get through that situation and many other situations heading her way. He definitely would have told her what to do, and she would have been okay. And that's another episode I want to talk about, is the situation I was in when I needed help financially, especially when it came to paying my light bill. But you don't want to miss that, because that talks a lot about my situation with my ex and why we went through some of the things we went through. So be on the lookout for that episode. But moving on. So now we're on to verse 6 of 2 Timothy chapter 3. And verse 6 says, "They are the kind who work their way into people's homes and win the confidence of a vulnerable woman, or a vulnerable women, period, who are burdened with the guilt of sin and controlled by various desires." Wow. That is a huge problem. That's a very huge problem, because We live in a society where being abused in any way is often the fault of the victim. Okay? I am very upset about that. We make it seem like it's the victim's fault a lot of the times by some of the things that we say and how we treat them. You know, because we promote the hashtag Me Too movement, right? We promote speaking up and speaking out loud. You know, be strong against your abusers, and just speak against your abusers. However, when they do it, what do we do? What do we do as a society? Not as individuals, but as a society as a whole, we tend to shut them down. And I strongly dislike this. I strongly dislike how our society tells them, speak up, speak against this abuse, speak it out loud, you know, because other people have gone through it, and your words, your experience can encourage them to speak up, and we can hopefully stop this. But when we do, we shut them down, and instead of it getting better, it gets worse, right? You know, they speak up, they're chastised for speaking up, they're ridiculed for speaking out, they're questioned. They are questioned. I can't believe it. They are questioned in a way that is just so disrespectful. And they're also belittled as if they're the ones doing the abusing. This is really sad. Have you ever seen an interview? You can probably look on social media, but have you ever seen an interview where the police is talking to the victim? Do you ever see and hear how the police speaks to the victim or / survivor versus how the police speaks to the accused or the abuser? It's really messed up, right? Okay? And this is not something new, nor will it ever go away. And it's not just the authorities that do this. I mean, there's family members that do that to each other. You know, there's friends that do it to each other. You know? And I think that's really sad. I myself have encountered numbers of individuals who have stories where they've spoken about how they were abused. They've spoken up about that, and how they gone to seek help. They got help from the authorities or from their family members or friends or a teacher or someone that they thought they could trust, and you know, time and time again, they're blamed. They are absolutely blamed, and I think that's very, very sad. And sometimes nothing is done to help them. They don't even get so much as a therapy session. You know, their family members do not even provide them with a therapy session to help them get through this, right? And many of them actually are not even believed. Or sometimes they just kind of, you know, their family members often kind of sweep it under the rug, where they're just like, okay, well, you know, you'll get over it. It happened to me and I'm fine. And yet you're not. You're not fine. You're not fine at all. And so now that child is not fine. That child grows up and they're having problems. You know, the line of work that I do, I've come across a lot of individuals, adults, who were sexually abused when they were 3 years old. And here they are in their 50s and 60s and 70s even, and they remember that incident as if it happened yesterday to them. And here it happened when they were 3, and they remember when they were 5 and 6. They remember it, and they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're still going through it, and they're still suffering from it because they never got help. And I want to talk about that on another episode, because, you know, I have a lot of experience dealing with stuff like that, right? So nothing is ever done to help these people, help a lot of the people that have been in this situation. And many of them end up continuing to try to live the best life they can in silence. They become afraid to speak up, and they get angry and upset that nothing was done. So they just hold it in. And oftentimes when you are abused once, you're abused again. And whenever you talk to someone, sometimes when you talk to a partner about it and you let them know what you've gone through, it's really hurtful, and it's really sad that a lot of times that partner turns around and abuses you again. It was someone who supposedly loved you and someone that you're supposed to trust, and they turn out to abuse you again. And that's very painful. And it's not always, but most of the time that does happen. So a lot of times they keep it in. They don't say anything. Even to their spouses, they don't say anything. But what's the issue with that? What is the issue when you hold all that anger, all that trauma, all that pain, all that hurt inside of you? Okay? When you hold the rejection of not being helped, of not being believed, when you hold that all inside of you, it begins to blend together. And when it blends together, it starts to boil into something more. And often it boils into something very toxic for the mindset, physically, spiritually, mentally. It's something very toxic. And then when that happens, this often leads to a cycle of more trauma, more pain, more hurt, more rejection. And it continues to build and build and build. These individuals are often taken advantage of by those who see them, who see this in them. They see that trauma in them. They see this hurt. They see that these individuals are going through something. And often it's a woman who go through and they take joy and pride in the individuals that are suffering. These people often take advantage of these women. And it's not just women though, there's men and boys and girls. But as adults, and even as children, when other people see all that in you, they take advantage of it sometimes, or they'll put this negative connotations on you, and now you're being misunderstood and you're being judged because of all this hurt and trauma that's in you. And some of them actually, like I said, take pride in making you suffer even more, and they start to attack you. A lot of times it's usually they attack in two different ways. One way is by belittling you. They'll belittle you in public. Well, actually, I should say they'll belittle you so much so that when you get in public, it makes it seem like you're the angry person, right? That you're a bitter person, that everything that you've experienced was just all in your head. And it's not. And I think it's because of how angry and bitter they are for not being able to just move on, and nobody is going to want them, right? The other way that they attack is, and I'm sorry, nobody is going to want them because they have that negative mindset, and they are often an abusive person, mentally, physically, spiritually. So nobody is going to want them, right? So another way that they attack you is by building on your trust. Okay, they build on your trust. They know that gaining your trust will not be easy at first, right? So they listen to you, especially if you're a woman and it's a man. They listen to you and they try to convince you that they understand your pain, they understand your struggle, they understand your rejection, the feeling of not being heard. They understand all of that. And once they do convince you, that they understand those things and that you can trust them, they start to work their little devious ways from the inside out. They try to control you and they manipulate you. And while they're doing this, they're thinking to themselves, I got her now. I got them. And they will do anything I want them to do. They're desperate. They're hurt. They don't feel wanted. They don't feel loved. They don't feel heard. And they don't know the love of God. Therefore, it's going to be real easy for me to show them the love of Satan, the love of the adversary. It's going to be real easy for me to do it because they don't know the love of God, because they have rejected the love of God due to all the hurt and the rejection that they have experienced. Okay, but I also want you all to remember that Satan loves no one, right? He doesn't even love himself. So remember that. So if that love you're receiving from someone hurts, and you know it's not supposed to hurt, that's not the love coming from God. Okay, that's not love at all. That is not love. Okay, moving on to verse 7, where it says, such women are forever following new teachings, but they are never able to understand the truth. Now, there is nothing wrong with new teachings as long as they are still speaking and teaching the truth. There are various variations of diluted truths and what we often want others to know. We see that in schools, we see it in our families, our friends, in movies, television shows, and they portray a certain storyline that may benefit some while dismantling others, right? So how many people do you know always jump on the bandwagon of the next trending topic? No matter what it is, they're going to try it out or talk about it for a short period of time, then move on to the next trending issue, right? Usually the women who forever follow these new teachings are the ones looking for some type of validation, assurance, or love, support, comfort, and they don't realize the original teachings is still the way to go. They don't realize that. And we have to stop listening to everyone's opinion on the matter and start asking God for clarification and discernment. A perfect example is an eye for an eye. Many people hear that and many people believe that an eye for an eye means if you unalive my family member, I will unalive you or your family member. And that's not what that means, okay? It means if you unalive my family member, you or your family member should take the place of my family member that is no longer here due to your actions. You or your family member will now do the same responsibilities as the family member that is now unalive once did. So that's what an eye for an eye really means. But when we have all these different teachings and new meanings on certain things and people putting their opinions on that, it turns into something completely different. And that's really, really, really sad. Moving on to verse 8, it says, these teachers oppose the truth these teachers oppose the truth like how Moses was opposed. They have depraved minds and a counterfeit faith. So I want to ask you, how many of you have been in a classroom where either you or another student have corrected teachings of the teacher, right? And perhaps you were in church and the clergyman or clergywoman taught from the Bible, gave an example, but it made you question the example given because you knew it was not accurate. I've had that experience a lot where I'm in a classroom and the teacher says something and we know it's not right and they get corrected and and they get mad about it. And I don't know why you're getting upset. I guess they feel like, well, I'm the teacher, I should know this, right? And don't question me. But I mean, yeah, you should know it, but times change, and sometimes what you're teaching is not accurate in today's teachings, you know. So you have to kind of just figure that out and prepare yourself beforehand, you know. And if it's like a math question, a lot of times it's a math question and they get the math question incorrect, but you should be proud that, hey, your students are paying attention, right? But they're not. But anyway, and then we come across many people in this world that have mistaken words for truth or the meaning of what is stated, okay? So again, like that, an eye for an eye. They mistake what the true meaning of that means. Another example of this would be that common phrase, come as you are, right? Many individuals show up to church the same way they show up at a nightclub or at an overnight outing with friends. Come as you are, meaning you are more than welcome to come to church broken, okay? It doesn't mean, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna wear this short skirt to church. You know, I wore it to the club the other night and I had gotten a lot of men looking at me, so maybe I can get some men in the church to look at me the same way. That's not what come as you are means. Come as you are, like I said, it means you are more than welcome to come to church broken, lost, hurt, or confused. You don't have to be in a whole state of mind, all right? Your mind does not have to be whole. Your body doesn't have to be whole. Your heart or your spirit doesn't have to be whole in order for you to attend church. That's one of the reasons why you are able to go to church, is to help you become whole, and to also, of course, give knowledge to God. You don't physically have to go there either. But come as you are. Come with a broken heart. Come with a broken spirit. Come with a unsure mindset. Come as you are. You can speak to God or hear from God no matter where you are either. You could be on the side of the road and pull over, speak to God. You could be lost in the woods, on public transportation, at work, in the hospitals, in the clubs, at a bar, at a restaurant, wherever you are. Stop and praise the Lord. Give thanks to the Lord, to God. Give thanks to God. Have open and honest communication with God. If you want to and need to communicate with God and someone has an issue with that, don't argue with them. Just find an area where you can communicate with God, even if it's in the bathroom. I know some of you want to praise God right then and there, you know, in a restaurant, and of course, or a movie theater, and people have an attitude about it, you know, and they want to poke at you, and they want to throw you off, and they want to disrespect you, and they want to put God down. Don't give them the satisfaction. Don't argue with them. Don't. It's much more powerful to get up and walk away and continue your conversation with God without being interrupted, without having a negative heart, without having negative thoughts, okay? But I want you to always come as you are. If you are homeless or have no place to go, you don't have a church appropriate attire, but you want to be in the presence of the Lord inside of a church or communicate with the Lord, then do it. Come as you are. Go inside that church. No God-fearing person, man or woman, no pastor, no minister, no preacher, no any type of clergy person who is appointed and ordained by God will turn you down if you are homeless. They will not turn you down if you want to come into their church and praise the Lord. They will not. I don't care if you smell to high heaven. I don't care. I don't care if you reek of alcohol. I don't care if you reek of 2-month-old trash. I don't care if you reek of dog urine or rat urine or whatever. If you are homeless, if you don't have a place to go, you're tattered, you're torn, your clothing have all kinds of holes in it, your shoes have holes in it, and you smell to high heaven, but you see a church and you walk in those church doors and you want to praise God, come as you are. Come as you are. God rejects no one with an open, pure heart. He rejects no one with an open, pure heart. No matter how you look, no matter what you smell like. If you can fix that, if you can come to church smelling better, then fine, great. Yes, that's a plus. It's a plus. It really is. But if you don't have that ability to do it, it's okay. And no one should be judging you for it. Nobody should be laughing at you. Nobody should be turning up their noses, because at a split second, all those people that want to turn up their noses at you and want to make comments about you and want to film you and put you on social media, in a split hot second, they can be in the exact same position you are, or worse. Any of us can, or worse. So just come as you are. God the Father, your Father, our Father, loves you as you are. And there is no one more deserving of God's love than the other. No one can say, well, I deserve God's love more than you because I put on perfume today, because I took a bath today, because I don't have holes in my shoes, I don't have holes in my clothes, so I deserve God's love. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. God does not operate that way. He loves all his children, even the ones that sin every single day of every single moment. He loves them too. Come as you are. Remember, the poor receives the same love as the wealthy. The broken, lost, hurt, confused, angry, they all have the same love as those that are whole. They all get the same love. His love is always, always, always given. God is not a judge of limited love. He does not love you based on certain things, on certain factors. God is not a judge of limited love, but a judge of our character and our hearts. So always come as you are in the presence of the Lord. In verse 9 it says, but they won't get away with this for long. Someday everyone will recognize what fools they are. People often see or hear what they want to see or hear. If they really want the truth, they will ask God to show them the truth. Ask God for discernment, and he will give it to you. Ask him. And don't ask him in a silly way. Don't ask him in a jokingly way. Just ask God with all your heart. God, I need discernment. I need to know if this is true. I need to know what you need me to do. I need to know what to say, how to feel, how to act. God, what is going on? Give me discernment. Is this accurate? And why? Why, God? Is this person for me, God? Does this person really want the best for me, God? Is this person in my life for a season, or for forever, or just for the moment, or what is it, God? Give me that discernment, and God will give it to you. He will give it to you. And once the truth is revealed, justice can be served in a more fulfilling power, in a more fulfilling way, in a more fulfilling manner. Justice can be served. So don't reject God's power. And remember that even though sometimes we may not get to know the truth as humans, God will always still know the truth. God will always know if someone did wrong to you, if justice was never served to you. Okay? As long as you don't reject His power, you will be okay, and you will always know the truth in your heart, right? God knows it too. God knows it before it happens. And they won't get away with it. They won't get away with their actions. And someday, hopefully everyone will recognize what fools they are and what they've done. Okay? Because the truth sometimes have a way of revealing itself one way or the other, whether it's on purpose or accidental. Many times people can recognize a fool doing something silly, doing something unjust, because a lot of times a fool often tells on themselves. They like to talk too much. They brag on themselves. They flaunt the very thing that makes them guilty, that makes them a fool. And they believe in only their ways and their words, and not the ways or the words of the Lord. So remember that one of these days people will recognize the fools that they are, because they're not going to get away with it. They're not going to get away with anything that is unjust. I remember going through an experience and I felt like this person got away with everything. They got away with everything. I didn't get any justice that we were seeking. We never got our justice, right? But then someone said to me that even though you don't get justice here on earth, God will still serve justice when they're no longer here. So even if this person dies without serving a day in prison, without being guilty, without even being caught here on earth, they will serve their time when their spirit dies. When their spirit goes to the next level, they will serve their time. And God will see to that. Whew. This was a heavy topic for some of us, right? But I just want you to know that I feel like it's important for us to reflect on our actions and make sure that we're living our lives in a way that aligns with our values, our beliefs, and with God's words. So don't just pay attention to your actions, but the actions of others as well, okay? Pay attention to it, and if you notice, okay, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, how can I rectify this situation? Stop rejecting God's power. If that's something you're doing, stop doing it. Okay? And then I want you to also look at what people say. Look at what you say sometimes. Look at how they act. Look at how you act. And look at what you do. Look at how some of the things that look at what some of the things that they're doing as well. And everything that was once considered good in this society, for some reason, is now considered wrong, closed-minded, and they try to use the words of God against all that's good. That's how some people are, right? When you look at their actions and the things that they say, they try to turn the good things into negative things, and they try to turn the negative things into good things. And then they want to use God's words against those good things, and we shouldn't let them do that. So let's be mindful of our choices and of the people we hang out with. Let's be mindful of that. And I want us to keep striving to be our best selves that we could possibly be. And embrace the power of God's words. Embrace His power of His words. Embrace His love. Embrace the truth. Embrace your discernment that you get from Him. Embrace that grace that you get from Him. Embrace who you are as a person. Because when you reject God, you're rejecting happiness for your spirit once we leave this earth. You're rejecting that. You're rejecting your place in God's kingdom. So don't do that. So I just want to thank you all for joining me on this episode. And if you enjoyed it, don't hesitate to come back to listen and support. I really appreciate it very much. You can share this, you can comment. I appreciate you as a spirit, and I look forward to sharing more with you. I absolutely do. But until next time, keep reflecting on what you're doing in life, and I want you to reflect so that you can keep growing. Keep growing in God's love, keep growing in God's words, and keep growing in a society that oftentimes may make you feel like you don't belong, but trust me, you do. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, be safe, my spirits. Be safe, my beautiful, beautiful spirits. Thank you.